procrastination is wisdom, my friend, if you think about it deeply. It's your entire body system saying that before you take the next step, you're missing information, you need to figure out what it is.
Welcome to Mindfully Chaotic. I'm Amanda Marie, New England-based intuitive healer, community builder, manifestation artist, and founder of Wicked Smart Wellness. Life is a journey unique to each and every one of us, with ups and downs and curves and an infinite amount of possibilities. I know firsthand what it's like to feel defeated, but I've learned how to challenge life and create opportunities in abundance for myself as I move forward down any and every path I choose. My intention is to guide you to harness your own power to create for yourself the journey that you thought was only possible in your dreams. Growth does not need to happen alone, so between myself and occasional guests from the community, I will share with you the tools to shift your mindset, strengthen your intuition, and bring forward all of your intentions. When you live and speak your truth, what you say and do will manifest. Thank you for listening to Mindfully Chaotic. Hello, everybody. It's me, Amanda Marie, and I am back with season 2 of Mindfully Chaotic. It has been long awaited, much anticipated, mostly by me, but it's fine. Whoever else is happy about this, thank you so much for sharing that with me. And I just got to say that I'm going to be honest with you, just like always. I am sitting here with an incredible guest today. His name is Wright, and we have already had so much great conversation, both non-recorded and recorded. But I just cannot wait for you guys to listen to what we have to say today. So this is my unofficial welcome to the show, because we got so excited to talk and I forgot to do this. So it is with great pleasure and great honor that I introduce you to the first guest of season 2 of Mindfully Chaotic, Wright.
Amanda, that was amazing, by the way. Listen, you're here because Amanda is a very excited person, and she's full of energy, and you listen to her because she brings people of curious mind just like you to the show, and I'm a person of curious mind. And just a little background on myself. I hail from the island of Jamaica. I've been in the United States 25 years, and 22 of those 25 years, I served in the United States Army. I retired from it, and I consider myself now a veteran, but also an immigrant. So I have two identities that I really serve, the immigrant identity and the veteran identity. And we talked about a lot on the show. You guys are going to be able to enjoy the conversation because life-changing wisdom is my organization, and wisdom is my highest value. So everything I do in life, I focus on wisdom. The question that I normally ask myself when somebody say, Ashley, let's go do this. I'm like, is this thing going to make me any wiser? If it's not, I don't do it. So
I
I would
love it.
advise you guys to listen to the show and enjoy Amanda and her story. Over to you,
Thank
Amanda.
I mean, if you could see by my smile, I'm cheesing so much while you say all of this, because like I said, we had a great conversation and I'm just really excited for everybody to listen to it. So thank you so much again for Asher for joining me today. And thank you to everyone for tuning in to Mindfully Chaotic. It looks like we got it.
We're back.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I guess basically whenever I record my podcast, whenever I do anything really, it's super casual and go with the flow. I'm really all about authenticity, trying to be in the moment and letting whatever comes out come out. When I pick a topic, it's meant to be vague. Like it's great if we end up following the entire idea of what we were going with. And if not, and our conversation goes somewhere else, that's cool too. Like I'm a firm believer that whatever comes out is meant to. So I'm very open-ended on that. I just kind of wanted to really dive a little into the hesitation and procrastination for my own sake, because I have been doing it a lot lately. And it's actually kind of what put me back on getting season 2 of Mindfully Chaotic out. It's actually been a little over a year since my last official episode aired. So this is super special for me to be getting back into this. And I'm really grateful that you're joining me to do that.
Amanda, we are very similar in our history. Uh, I am 44, almost 44 years old. But some of my decades, I can remember my decades. There's certain things that just happen a certain way. And procrastination, it's the hesitation principle that we have that we all go through with procrastination. We hesitate to do things, which is natural. It's like no, there's no escaping. You can talk to anybody that's really great at anything. they're gonna talk about these days when that happened. Some of us we just stay there longer than others because we just haven't really get to know ourselves the way we need to get to know ourselves. But every time you hit a new stage in life, like the new challenges that level, cause procrastination anyway. And that's something that I realized about myself, even though I like to do stuff, but still I still procrastinate with other stuff. Because some things are really big and some things are very small. And it depends on the size of the thing. You might not believe you can do it by yourself. I remember this when I was in the military. I remember this one of this admiral he used to say when he used to brief us, one of his briefing he was giving us, he was like, um, one thing you need to take away with you is whenever time you meet your leaders, this is something that's gonna make you very successful in the military, is execute your last orders first. So when I hear him say that, I'm
Interesting.
like,
Okay.
execute your last orders first. What it meant was that if you want to stay relevant and you work for a boss, and when you have the meeting and he says, "Hey, I don't want you guys to do this for me," right away you go knock that out and then go back to what you was doing. So now in the eyes of your boss, like, well, I just gave him that task just now. He already got it done. So this person is on fire. But that's the winning ticket into the game. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Execute your last orders first, and then move on to the next list you have on your task list. And that right there, I start doing that and I understand what procrastination means sometimes. And that help want to help me overcome some of that stuff.
That actually kind of just like blew my mind a little bit because as you said that, I kind of just had like a moment where I was like, I feel like there are so many areas in my life that I
Mhm.
would be more successful if I implemented that
Mhm.
because on a day-to-day basis, one of the things that actually sets me back, and that kind of involves even like I said, just recording this podcast and getting it back on the air and other just little day-to-day things, some bigger things, whatever it may be. But one of the big things that has been happening for me is I have so many things on the list and sometimes I feel guilty about starting something without finishing the other things. But to your point, sometimes those other things just simply aren't as urgent. Like, yes, they need to get done and they should be being worked on actively, but realistically, they don't need to be done at the second. Whereas a more demanding request may come in and it's totally okay, whether it's for myself or for someone else, for the community, to put aside some of the other stuff that I haven't gotten done and focus on something else. Like we're allowed to do that. And I think that's a big piece of the procrastination and hesitation too, is we align ourselves with guilt about not getting everything done at once. So then it kind of like locks you up and it can be hard to get anything done at all.
Mm. And here's how we play. This is a very good point. Here's how we play into effect. Like we have a never ending list. The list is never gonna go away. No matter how hard you work, how much people bring in your team, there's gonna be a long list of things to do. Always, always, never ending. If your list is empty, life's gonna get very boring. So you need to have a list. It's a matter of how you organize that list. But now if you're working for somebody, so people that are listening to the podcast that are employees, you got to remember this rule is like the rule execute your last order first really helps. In most situations, it helps. Depends on how big that task is, right? But sometimes you don't have to
Absolutely.
finish the task, but you get started and like, hey, the boss says this is what I do. Like we start working on it. Hey, boss is gonna take me another 10 days to get it done, but I started and this is where I'm at. Give you an update. Boom, go back to your thing. So organize your team. And that helps the person that give you that work to do, like, oh, this person took my priority serious. And they're giving me feedback. But now if you're working for yourself or you're aligning your own tasks, then at the you're like, okay, let me figure which one I need to do or what I need to tackle. But when you're an employee, is a different mindset. It's a different mindset. So I learned that one.
No, I see where you're going with that. And I think that that kind of just goes along with the fact that you have to compart compartmentalize different parts of our lives because like you said, sometimes it's about us.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's about us and our families. Sometimes it's about us and our place of work. Sometimes it's about us and the community. And it's like you kind of have to figure out where the importance of all of those actually lie. And see, this is where I struggle. And I'd love
Hmm.
to hear your insight on this because one of the problems I have with that is I kind of look at doing things for other people as like more important a lot of the times. Like I want to show up for this person, for that person, for this. But then I fall along and like I battle the fact that I'm also well aware that it's super important to be doing what we need to do for ourselves. Like, you know, if I can't save someone else if I don't save myself first type of thing, like to get deep into it. So I feel like I personally battle the whole I battle that, you know, the balance, I
Okay.
guess, is what I'm getting at.
Okay. So here's a so you might I don't know. Are you ADD?
ADHD, yes.
ADHD? Okay. Okay. Cool. No, no, no. I am too. And what about dyslexia? You're not dyslexic, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, I'm both, right? I have the
Yeah.
symptoms for both. So here's something that really helps me. I when I was in the military, just for the folks that are listening, I did 22 years in the United States Army, retired from it in 2022, and now my focus is around all the things, right? Wisdom is my
Thank you for
highest
your
value.
service.
Yes, of course, of course. But here is something that people can think about, and it's a prioritizing process. So you have the what I call the glass jar, so let's think of a ball. You got a glass ball, then you have a metal ball and a rubber ball. So kind of let me break them down. So you got the glass, the metal, and the rubber, right? That's your prioritized little balls, right? So now it's something that's considered a glass ball, like a priority. If it falls, it's gonna break. Those what you do first. The metal ball, if it falls, it will make noise. People hear about it, but it won't. It was. You can still pick it up and take it where it needs to go. Then a rubber ball, right? Those one will bounce back when they fall. So now you gotta figure out what do you put into those ball. Like, make a list on your board, right? What's going to consider your glass ball, your metal ball, and your rubber ball, and those priority you put them there. So if something that comes in and gotta get done, if you drop the ball on that one, it's gonna break and it's gonna cost you a lot of money, cost you a lot of stuff. Then you know that one has to get focused. A lot of focus time. The next one, it's a metal ball. You put it on that list, right? If it falls, it's gonna make a lot of noise. People are like, oh, I just fucked that up just now. Everybody see it. But I can live with that. And I can come back from that. Then the rubber ball is so if something happened, it falls, you drop the ball on that one, it's gonna bounce back, but you can recover from it. You start prioritizing that little area. Now things become a lot easier because you know these are my glass ball today. If I don't get this done, it's gonna cost me a lot. It's gonna break. People, people gonna see everything broken in my life. Oh my God. But then the metal one, they make a lot of noise. It's okay. All right, I'm embarrassed. Or you just, oh fuck. Yeah, I fucked up. Yeah. Cool. What are your thoughts on those?
I don't know if you can see it on my face, but like that was actually one of the best analogies I've ever heard because I've never looked at it from that perspective. In the way my brain works, in the way
Mhm,
that I like try to categorize things to myself. And I mean, this goes, we all have different ways that our brain works, but
mhm.
like personally, it's easier for me to understand something when someone who clearly has a similar type of mindset, and the fact that you put it into pictures and you put them into objects, and like the visualization of physically breaking, making a scene, or like just bouncing back like nothing really is just for it's just useful. Like that is a really useful analogy,
Mhm,
and I'm going to try to remember that. And wow. I
mhm.
feel like for me now, okay, so now I get the next one because I feel like you're answering questions. If these are able to kind of get my mind going, I know that our listeners are
Okay.
definitely
Mhm.
going to be going with this too. So I'm just going to think of a couple questions that come to mind that may or may not be able to help other people as well who are dealing with this. And what would you say now for the overthinkers who might be like, they all feel like it's a glass ball right now. Like everything's so hard. We can't even decompartmentalize. We can't separate anything. We can't just pause and focus. Like, do you have any advice to the person that needs to even just step one, be able to separate their their priorities and challenges into the balls?
Okay. So I would use myself an example because if you have a symptom of ADD and dyslexia like my brain do, then this will become useful for you. Some other people different for them. For me personally, I don't try to solve a problem in my head because there's too much up there. So then I write them down and put them on paper because we understand thoughts is gonna be up there, right? A lot of them, and you're gonna be chasing a lot of them. But when you write it out, put it on paper, you can like that one right there is the one I need to focus on. So now I think about that one problem specifically. So now if you're saying that you have a lot of thoughts in your head, you write them down in those glass, metal, and rubber ball category. You put them in there, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna focus on that one now. So now my brain understand what to focus on. Because I love this quote by Dan Sullivan. I'm gonna give you two quote that really help my lifestyle when I think about anything. So one of his quote is like the problem is not the problem, but you're thinking about the problem is the problem, right? So that one
Yeah.
helps you figure out what's. Then the next one is like your eyes only see and your ears only hear what your brain is looking for. So those two quotes help me really figure out some stuff in my head. So now I write stuff down and I'm like, okay, Asher, this thought specifically, think about it deeper. So now I start think about it, figuring out, okay, and now it becomes less chaotic because I'm no longer in my head, I'm on paper now. So you gotta
Mindfully
take,
chaotic.
yeah. So you gotta take it outside of your head and put it on paper, and then you start solving problem easy. Whatever happens, don't stay in your head because if you stay in your head, it's too much in there for ADD symptoms minded person. It's too much in there, and it's a good thing because there's one thing about ADD brain, right? People don't understand. Your mind and your brain process information way faster than most people.
That's
So
true.
you don't realize you think you just having a lot of thoughts. You just that it difference to your brain. Some people process things slow. Your brain process things faster. For you to slow down the cycle of your brain is to put it on paper. If not, it stays up there. And what's in your head is complicated, and it makes it difficult for you to explain to other people because in your head it makes sense to you. But then we come back to the problem of translating that information to other people, communicating out the information to other people. It becomes very difficult because what I discovered about my mind, because I'm dyslexic, symptom of dyslexia and ADD, right? I understand that I don't think linearly. I think in webs, right? I connect dots. So now if I'm connecting dots in my head, most people, they follow things linearly. One, two, three, four, five, six, right? In my head, I might say 1 to 10 already, steps 1 to 10 already. So now somebody's thinking of step 1, I'm thinking of step 10. But now if I'm trying to explain to them, I might be starting at step 10, but they want to start at step 1. It doesn't make sense to them because like, Ash, what are you talking about? Oh my God, I need to find what step 1 is in this entire web for them to start at because they're thinking of step 1. So now when you write it down, and you get even when you write it down, you can get somebody to help you with it now because now I have all these things written down, and somebody say that have a better, more organized, linear mindset say, "Hey, Asher, the one you think is step 5, it should be step 1. Make it step 1." So now I'm like, oh, that's where we started for these people to understand what I'm saying. And from there, things become a lot simpler. So I would advise people to write stuff down, even though people don't like to write stuff, though you gotta write it down. And from there, your mind can make sense of it now. Because your brain can get to focus on the thing that you say, this one is number one. Okay, now your brain is focused on. In your head, everything is number one, all 10 steps. Because you can see me connecting that. But in
Mhm.
person, it's a different process.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think it's a really good reminder that it is simple, but not easy,
Mhm.
because it's as simple as it sounds simple when you say write it down, but it could be so difficult to actually get yourself to like take those pieces and put them out. And I think that's why it's a really good reminder. You mentioned before you even told us about this tool that you have, that this works for you, it might not work for everyone. And that goes along with anything, because like we all, like I was saying before, all of our brains work differently and different things work for all of us. But one of the things that I definitely find useful is that we're able to figure out what works for us by building off and taking what we learn from each other. So, if maybe, if even the teeniest increment about what Asher just said resonates and feels like something that you may be able to implement in your day-to-day life, then I suggest doing that. Like, I know one of my problems is sometimes I feel like if I can't go all or nothing, it's like an all or nothing type of thing. And I've had to pull myself back and realize that sometimes we can just take the little bits of what does work for us to try to keep going, pretty much. And so, yeah, I want to know what your thoughts on that are.
No, no, that you're on it, my friend. It's what works, and this is what I love about wisdom. That's why my coaching organization called Life Changing Wisdom Coach, right? And wisdom mean application, applying what works. So at first I was studying a lot of different people. So I'm gonna help the folks that have the symptom of ADD and dyslexia. I was studying a lot of different people, and everybody operates differently. So me at my stage, at my place in life, I might be studying somebody that's way ahead of me, and their model doesn't work for me because you're not the same. We're not on the same level.
Yeah.
So I gotta find people that are on the same level and see what model they're using that are very successful, and I try those out. For example, I'm a 20-year-old right now. My brain is scrambled all over the place. There's a 40-year-old guy that's talking that have the same identity as I do, some of the same symptoms that I do. But at his level, things work differently than when at a 20-year-old level. So you gotta find a 20-year-old, right, with your same identity, same symptoms, and that they're very effective. And what are they doing to be effective? Because you can relate to them better than a 40-year-old, even though we got the same thing. So I start studying people that have the same identity as I do, symptoms wise. Right? If somebody says, "Oh, I'm ADD." Okay, so if you're a successful ADD person, what did you do? Well, you were 80-year-old person. You've done a lot to kind of figure stuff out. I might study your work, but now I would like to find out when you was 40, what did you do at 40? Because there I can relate because I'm in the same state. I'm in the same decade of my life, and from there, like, oh, this is what you realize something in that time period. That might work for me too because my 40-year-old self and your 40-year self probably gonna think the same way because physically our body's doing some of the same things, and
I
that
see what
helps.
you're saying. So
Mhm.
you're basically saying like take it, it's so like, if you're, take it with a grain of salt, because if you're going to take something from someone else's journey, you kind of want to make sure that you're going back to the place in that journey where it actually relates to what you're going through, versus trying to
Mhm.
compare yourself to someone who may be similar to you, but also just way ahead on their journey. And you're sitting
Hmm.
here, instead of being like, why are they so successful and I'm not successful? You could say, what did they do to get to that success? And how can I do something for myself to get to that success as well?
Yeah. So that
Right.
sounds
Yeah.
that sounds simple, but a way to look at it is as well is like you see, it's like you ask the question, what did they do to get there? But you gotta figure out what point in their life, right, that they made that transition that kind of equals your point in your life right now because their history is what you got to study. Like, okay, this person. So I'm reading books about a lot of people, right? Sometimes I read like their last book they wrote. I'm like, oh, that's great. But I want to read like the first and second book when you were struggling to become a good writer. Because that's what my journey. I'm like, what were you thinking at the time? Oh, I'm feeling the same shit, right? So now I don't beat up on myself because I'm like, okay, this guy wrote 30 books already. I'm reading his 30th book. But when I read his second book, I'm like, oh, I know what he was thinking and feeling because it's way different than his 30th book. So now, me at my second book or my third book, I'm like, oh, I understand what this feeling is like because you was going through the same process. So now I don't beat up on myself. I can like, oh yeah, his first book was a C minus. My first book was a a D minus, right? I'm like, let me not beat up on myself, right? I'm gonna keep putting another one out there, right? So you keep building on top of that stuff because that person started that same place too and what they was thinking and feeling like, okay, it's natural to feel this way. Let me not beat up on myself too much. Because if I'm comparing to them on the 30th, but when these guys are doing really good, then it makes a difference. Like, I'm not there. I don't want to do anything. And then you start procrastinating because you're comparing yourself to that person that wrote 30 books versus that same person that wrote the second book. That's the person that you need to think about what were they feeling and thinking at the same time and what were they doing. Like, okay, no, that makes sense.
Because we all got to start somewhere, and we don't just wake up it and have what it is that we're trying to achieve. We got to work for it. And I
Mm,
mean, everything that you're saying, that is the biggest thing that I want to, note to self, remind it for myself, and just remind everyone out there. It does. It takes work. It does. It does. And the thing is, that is part of the human experience. And that is what makes it all worth it. Because how special would it actually be if everything we wanted was just at the drop of our fingers? We would have no appreciation for absolutely anything at all versus how good it feels. Like, I mean, like little basic analogy, like when you're going up the mountain, it's like, do you actually take in what you're looking at that whole way up, or do you wait till you get to the top and only pay attention to the view once you get there? What do you want? Look, what are you paying attention to when you come back down? It's like everything is a whole, it's all a journey. It's not about the destination. It's about each and every moment that it takes to get there. And it's different for all of us. So even though we can kind of lean off of what other people are going through, what they have gone through, it's important. You said this, to give yourself grace, honor yourself, like don't beat up on yourself, because you have to remember, like, you know what, this is probably pretty normal for someone just starting out. This is probably this, it's not going to be the best, maybe it's not that best insanely clear gorgeous view at the top of the mountain, but there's so many other little great things to see when you actually take the time to look around. And sometimes, and we forget that as humans, that's all part of the human experience, to feel all of that, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, and the easy, the hard, and kind of find that balance and
mm.
work off of them all.
Here's my biggest lesson I would part to your audience. If it doesn't cost work, you don't want it. If it's not expensive, you don't want it. If you think about everything in your life most of the time that somebody like, hey, I'm offering you this thing for free, you're like, is it really worth it? So people realize that if there's not a price on it for you to pay, you don't really want it. The things that are given to you a lot for free, you don't want it. But if it costs you a lot of money, you're like, I want it now. So we realize that we're playing a psychological game with ourselves. Like, okay, so now I want things that cost me. Because the scarcity thing that happens where people say like if it's not as if I don't want something that everybody don't want. Most people don't. People want something that everybody wants, right? The thing that everybody wants is gonna cost you something, and that's what you want. So if I'm giving you something that everybody has, you don't want it. You want something that everybody don't have, or everybody want. And this is crazy. This is the irony of life, my friend. It's crazy, but yeah.
It is. It is. Um, that just made me think, because we were talking about procrastination, hesitation,
Mm-hmm.
and how everything, it's worth the cost, and we're going to want the cost, and it's what we're going to want. So I want to be able to be mindful of the fact that we're living in a world right now where the economy is becoming really difficult
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people. And I don't want to be talking with scarcity here. I'm a big fan of having the abundant mindset, but I also like to be realistic. And it's like, so what do you say? Do you have any tips for those who feel like the reason they're holding back or hesitating or procrastinating is because they don't feel that they have the means.
Hmm. I would say something before I answer that question. So you say you don't want to talk about scarcity, you want to talk about abundance. And I'm gonna tie them together for you, just like negative and positive. You understand electricity, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay. Okay. So to have electricity, you need negative and positive, right? You got for you to have that spark, you need negative and positive, right? So both spectrum is important. So the binary tension between scarcity and abundance, we all need. If there wasn't, wouldn't be a spark, there wouldn't be a hunger, right? Same thing with electricity. The binary tension between negative and positive, if it wasn't there, you wouldn't have electricity. You wouldn't light up. So we all need those things. So scarcity is very important because it generates hunger. I remember, I'm gonna give you my story.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
For the first 35 years of my life, the only book I read from cover to cover was the Bible. So it felt like it'd take me 35 years to read one book because most of my life I thought the symptom of ADD and dyslexia made me feel like I was an idiot, right? I couldn't learn properly. I didn't do so well in school. And I feel like the school system rules and principles and so forth and so on didn't really work so well for me. So I had a hard time learning. But I had to change my story at 36. I was like, Asher, this can't be. Because I discovered a label of ADD, ADHD, and I recognized the symptom like, oh, that's why it was so hard for me. So now I recognize the enemy in the room. So I started working back on myself. So I'm like, I gotta create a new story. So I set this crazy challenge to read and list of 100 book a year and 1,000 books in 10 years. So now I'm on my 8 years, over 700 plus books already, right? I'm averaging 2 books a week. So now I'm like, okay, Asher, what are you
That's
gonna do about
awesome.
your story? So now I realize the same thing come back to binary tension between scarcity and abundance. It has to happen. Like you have to have both for you to create that spark. And then that push you, give you different kind of motivation because we are motivated by different things. So growing up, because the things I didn't have, the disability, the disadvantage I had, they were my motivation to go after the abundance side of the thing. The pendulum swing, right? The one side swing to the next. I needed that. I needed that spark. And we all needed it. So you were confused mind. That's what I love about folks with symptom ADD and dyslexia. Because a confused mind do what? Ask a lot of questions. A confused mind is very curious. I love my mind because I'm very curious. I'm always interested in what other people are thinking because the only way to reverse my own thinking is respect your opinion. Or the only way to reverse my opinion is to respect yours. So I'm always looking for other people's thinking to see what they're thinking. Like, oh yeah, how you think about that? Interesting.
I
Let
love
me
that
think about it that
perspective.
way. Yeah.
That actually, I love that. Wow. So,
Mhm.
I personally, and I keep putting this out there. I can't stress this enough. I have been kind of struggling with this myself a lot
Mhm.
lately. And I'm a professional in the wellness field. I am a Reiki master teacher. I'm very into mindfulness. I work very hard on myself with healing, and I still find myself coming back to this point sometimes where all of a sudden I'm stuck in the mud. So the reason I like putting that out there and the reason it's important to me to share that is because I always want to remind people that that's the thing with healing. It's constant work. We're constantly doing it. And sometimes just because we have to pause and we feel stuck, it doesn't mean we're back to where we started. It just means that right now, you need to kind of revamp in order to take back off again. And that's kind of what I'm doing here personally. I have been putting off doing the things that I love to do and that includes like hosting this show and creating content and community, just things that involve being a part of the community. And I've been struggling with that because I've had so many other things that I've been needing to try to get in order in my personal life. And I've started to let some of those take a toll on me and push me back. And I was refusing to do the things I love to do because I felt like there were other things that I had to do. And it wasn't until I finally realized that like one of the things that I had to do was things that I love to do. Like I have to do the things I love to do, or else I am not actually me. I'm not going to be able to show up as myself for me or for anyone else. Like I've been in this like lull of just chasing my own tail, trying to get stuck out of the mud. But then I remembered I'm not back to where I started because where I was when I started, I never would have thought like this. I
Mhm.
didn't have that ability to actually reflect and say, you know what? You've got through it before, you can get through it again. And we evolve and we learn. And this is just my reminder to, if you are listening to us kind of go back and forth with some tips about what to do when you're feeling stuck, how to shift your mindset, and you're saying like that feels impossible. That's okay if it feels impossible right now. Maybe that's not where you're at right now. Maybe that's not what you need. But what I do challenge you to do is to take a time, take a moment, and try to figure out what it is that you do need for you. Even if it's something as simple as, people laugh when they hear this, but going outside for literally 60 seconds, remembering to drink a glass of water or brushing your hair when you wake up, whatever it is that you've been putting off that'll make you feel good about being you, start with the little steps. And kind of like what Asher was saying, if it helps to write them down, write them down. If it doesn't help, find something else that does help. And I can't stress that enough.
Hmm. Well, thank you for sharing that, Amanda. And I will
I
go a
think
little
it was my
further.
own personal breakthrough. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Breakthrough are amazing. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm listening to you, by the way. I'm gonna give you a little insight that I'm seeing right now. I think you're meant to be a mind expert.
I don't even know what to say to that. I would love for you to elaborate what you mean on that because I'm like cheesing now.
Hmm.
I don't even know how to respond. That just made me happy. It feels good to be doing the things that I enjoy
You,
doing. So I'm just really giddy right now.
there's a working title right here, but I'm gonna share it with you. And oftentimes people always struggle with like, what is my why? But here's something I will ask you to ask a different question. What is your lie? What is the lie you're telling yourself? Because once you figure that lie out, you will come back to figuring out what's your real motivation. Because the idea is that we all think that we wasn't born with the technology, right? To really be ourselves, to be the thing we're supposed to be. And but you are, like, you were born with technology. I'm gonna tell you something when I was listening to your story just now. Any problem that pisses you off, frustrates you, make you mad, irritates you, you was born to solve. So oftentimes people are looking for their purpose or their meaning in life, the thing that they're here to do, and the universe already attached it to you. It's your biggest problem that in your life. So if you think about the things in your life that are not right, those are the things that your purpose is hidden in. So when you decide, hey, I'm gonna solve this problem right now, like when I realized that my symptoms of AD and dyslexia was my purpose to solve. Once I solve those, I can help other people solve theirs. I realized my purpose in life. So because people think that they come here to figure out, oh, I gotta go find this thing that I need to do in the world. No, you already have it. Like the technology for a oak tree is in the seed. It doesn't need to go find it, right? All the technology to be you is already in you. You don't have to find it any other places. So I'm discovering that I already have the technology and I already have my purpose like attached to me like a tail and like a fragrance. You cannot, no matter how far you run, you're gonna still smell like it. Like you cannot escape the things that are in your head, things in your mind. So you are meant to be a mind expert because you came with a mind that was very busy. A lot of ideas, right? A lot of ideas. Every day you wake up so much ideas. You're like, what am I gonna do with all these ideas? Because not
Never
everybody has
slows
so many
down.
ideas. Some people don't have that much ideas. But you are somebody that has a lot of ideas. But guess what? You're gonna need somebody that doesn't have lot of ideas to surround yourself with because they're gonna help you make sense of these ideas. But you gotta get them out of your head and put them on paper because I can't see inside your mind when you write it out. This is what I'm struggling with. Right? Oh my God. Let me see that. Let me see that. Like this is my toy. You have it hidden in your head the whole time. I want to play with your toy now, Amanda. Can you just share it with me? So I'm saying with everyone that's listening, you have the technology already. Your problems are the things that are not right in your life. Those are the things you solve. Once you solve those, other people find value in you a lot more because now, like, wow, how do you solve that thing? And you tell them, you share with them, like, no, you become valuable to them because to yourself, you don't need to say I'm valuable. No, you don't need to say that. To other people, that's where your value shows up.
Wow. Wow. I'm I'm honestly speechless because I'm processing what you just said, and it's true. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
I've always kind of put this out there. Sometimes it's hard to practice what we preach, but everything
Hmm.
that we need, everything that we like want to be is within us. And it's about kind of finding those little pieces of ourselves and deciding when to implement them into our lives. And so I don't know, I appreciate you saying what you just did. I do, I really do. It means a lot to me because like I said, it's something that I've been struggling with myself, and that I'm sure that I'm not the only one. And I hope that anyone else who's listening to this can say, like, take a moment to just kind of look within and take it
Mm,
from within and
mm,
put it
mm,
on paper, like you were saying, like take it out, take it out. If you feel
mm,
like everything's going crazy in there, let's get some of it out of there. Let's
mm.
work with it instead of letting it all fester and then putting it off, feeling defeated, hesitating, procrastinating. Ah.
Mm. There's just
Well,
there's a saying that says education is not to put things into you, it's to take what's in you out of you, right? So you gotta take what's in you out of you, and once you can do that, my friend, it's definitely a lot of empowerment. So I would ask your audience to do this. Could they think like action step, right? There's a call to action is this right here. Is to think about the 5 or 10 things in your life that is not right. Think about them and just write them down. Write them down.
so think
And then you
about it.
think
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 about
about
it.
think about the 5 to 10 things that are right and write
Okay.
them down. So now what you want to do, you want to reinforce what is right and you want to work on solving what is not right to make them right. And that's where you find things to do now. And you get to focus on those things specifically because you write them down. Then you're like, okay, which one is the glass ball? Which one is the metal ball? Which one is the rubber ball? Which category they fall in? You start working on those things because once you solve one, you feel more empowered. Once you solve the second one, you feel more empowered. And the solution to one and two is a solution to somebody that's in your same identity. And I'm gonna help people because this is another thing, people are always trying to figure out like what is the thing I'm supposed to focus on? What is my niche? Like if you're a person, you're a coach right now, right? I'm gonna help you with that piece as well. So when I was in the military, the big question that drives me was who do you want to be a hero to, Asher? And obviously I wanted to be a hero to the American population, the American family. I want to be a hero to them. So my 22 years of service, I want to be a hero to them. Everything I do, I want to be a hero to America. So I go risk my life for that purpose because they was worth my sacrifice, right? So now when I retire from the military, same questions again. Who do you want to be a hero to? And it came back to my immigrants and my veterans community because those two identity. Because I was born and raised in Jamaica, came to the United States, joined the military. After I've been here for 4 months, I joined the military. 8 months I was in training, so I went straight in the military after I came to America, and I served my time, right? But I came back out. I'm like, who do I want to be here to know, Asher? And it's the my immigrants and my veterans, right? I want to be here to them. So now they become my niche because you was born into your niche. You speak from your niche, all those stuff. The things that you really, really surround yourself with, like the identity that you really serve, those are the people you serve. Because from there, those people, what they're gonna do is you're gonna recognize you because you're authentic in that space. Because I can talk about being an immigrant all day. I would never feel like a fraud because I've lived it. I can talk about being a veteran because I've lived it. So now people always feel like a fraud, feel like they're imposter in spaces that they haven't educated themselves in or they haven't lived. So I always say speak from your niche, which is speak from your identity that you serve. And from there, you can speak into other areas. So like you're saying that right now you have the symptoms of ADHD. Speak, that's your identity right now. Speak to that identity, that community, and speak in that space, and people in that space will find value because you're not a fraud because you've lived it. And from
That
there,
makes
those
a lot of
people will
sense.
they will share your stuff, and you're gonna meet other people to expand your thing now. And that's what I realized. I'm like, oh my God. So now, who do you want to be a hero to, Amanda? That's the question. And it's going to be a community. It's not an individual. It's going to be a community. But you got to find that person first. And within that community, you serve those people. Because in the end, right, when you come back to the hero and the anti-hero and the victim, in the space, like the hero want to rescue the victim and the anti-hero want to destroy the victim. And the hero has to step up and save that victim. But oftentimes that victim is inside of you. That victim could be
It's true.
you. And once you find a way to save you, you can help other people save themselves. And that's what they want to see.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I'll take that as a personal challenge to look within and kind of identify who it is I want to be a hero to. And I'd like to invite
Or a Shiro, in your case, a Shiro.
a share, yeah,
A
whatever it may
Shiro.
be, whoever it may be that I want to impact. And I also challenge the community and our listeners to do the same. We'll add that to the call to action, which I absolutely loved. A little reminder on that was take 5 to 10 things that are going right in your life, take 5 to 10 things that are not going right in your life, and kind of look to how to solve what is not versus how to reassure what is. And
Mhm.
then along with that, kind of look within and decide, who is it? Maybe the person it is that you want to be a hero for is yourself. Because to be honest with you, that's what I was hearing right now. I feel like I have spent so much of my life trying to be a hero for other people that I have let myself lose myself one too many times. And I think that that's also a good point, though, to piggyback off what you said, which is a good reminder that at different points in our lives, we relate to different things and different people. So maybe who you wanted to be a hero to, like you said, when you were in the military, you wanted to be a hero for a whole different community than versus like when you came home. And it's like that can go for anything. Like maybe who you wanted to be a hero for when you were 5 years old is the same as it was at 15 and 20, but it changed when you're 35, and then it'll be different again at 60. That's okay. So don't focus on what was, don't focus what will be right now.
Mm-hmm.
Focus only on what affects your right now in this life. Who do you want to be right now? Who do you want to impact right now? What is going good for you right now? What isn't, and how can you fix it right now? If you can't fix it right now, when can you fix it? Don't worry about it until you can do that. Only
Mm.
worry about what you can work on right now and who you can impact in the process. And that's what I'm taking from that. So that's
Oh
that's
no,
kind
that's
of
a
what I
good.
heard there.
That's a good takeaway. The immediate step, which often is step number one, the first step to that 1,000 step you need to travel, right? That's what you just brought it back to. Like, oh, okay, we need to make 1,000 step, but you gotta make that number one step first, and that starts now. So very powerful.
And you get to choose what the first step is, especially if you're completely stuck. Like if you're someone where you're sitting here and you're like, I have so much to do and I don't know where to begin, you can literally just pick anything. Because as Asher was saying, and to add to what he was saying too, like in my own words, as humans, we kind of crave instant gratification. So
Mm.
you want to be able to see your success and you want to be able to know that you checked something off your list. So put things on your list that you're doing anyway, if that's what you have to do. Remind yourself that you're being productive, even if you're only able to do the bare minimum, and just start with that. Because sometimes not even sometimes, a lot of the time, the first step is the bare minimum or can be
Mm.
the bare minimum. If you want to take a giant leap, that's okay. If you have that faith in yourself, good for you. Like I believe in you just as much as you do. If you believe in yourself, then I'll believe in you because no one knows what we're capable of except for ourselves. So all I'm saying is it can be big, but it doesn't have to be. It can be the teeniest tiny little thing. Just take that first step. And that's kind of how we're going to get ourselves out of this procrastination, hesitation lock, I'd say.
Mm. I will help the audience with something. You mentioned the word stuck, and sometimes I'm gonna give you exactly what it is. When somebody's stuck, what is actually stuck is their values, not they actually themselves. So if somebody says I'm overwhelmed right now. They're overwhelmed because they don't have the resources. But we go back to stuck. So when you say you're stuck, that means whatever if you know your values right now, I'm asking your listeners to think about their top five, their top five values. When your values are stuck, nothing happens for you. That's when you get very frustrated. The thing you value the most is stuck. You're gonna feel like, oh my God. So now if you start recognizing your value, oh, why am I stuck now? Because something that you really value is not moving. So like I go to my highest value. My highest value is wisdom. When somebody asks me, actually, let's go do this thing. First question I ask isn't gonna make me any wiser. It's not, I'm not gonna do it. Because when you have a plan for your life, automatically your values have wheels now. They don't have four flat tires because you have a big plan. So when somebody says, hey, I'm gonna go here with you, like, no, well, you take my value, of course, I won't do it. But what happened when you end up finding out, oh my God, my value is in a different direction and it's trapped in this person's plan, then you feel like, oh my God, my value is not moving because this person trapped your values now. And for your values to escape from it, you got to really take back control of your values. And that's why people feel stuck. So you think about your life, anytime you feel like you're stuck, think about what you value the most in that moment. Why is it not moving? And that makes you feel like you're stuck. Because your legs can move, but the thing you value can't. So, boy, you got to recognize what they are. And once you recognize what they are, you can do something about it. Like, oh, integrity is one of my highest value. Why am I feel like I'm stuck? Because I'm in a position where I don't feel like I can be a person of integrity. I can't be honest. I'm stuck, right? I can't be creative if creativity is your highest value. You can't create because your creativity is stuck because somebody put you in a situation where you can't create freely. So now guess what? I'm stuck. So now if you recognize the value, like I need to find a space where my creativity can show up. So I gotta get out of the situation I'm in. So what's my exit? Oh, you gotta do this. So just think about it. When you feel like when you're stuck, think about your values. Which one of your values are stuck right now? And that would tell you what action you need to take. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, it does make sense. What it all comes down to is breaking it down and kind of starting with what's most important for us, right?
Hmm.
Is that kind of that's kind of what I was picking up with what you were saying. Like break it down to like you can, whether it's like a whole list of values or your world's
Oh,
most important value, what means the
let me ask
most
you
to
this
you.
question. What is your number one value?
Authenticity.
Mm. So if I put you in a situation where you can't be authentic, you're gonna feel stuck.
Yeah, and I totally, when you say that, it's like I get like that cringe feeling, because
Hmm.
it's something that I feel like can happen to me a lot, because my brain is different than a lot of people's brains.
Hmm.
So for me, sometimes I do feel like my, even if I'm, I'm always authentic to like whatever degree I can be in whatever room I'm in. Meaning in social settings, sometimes you have to like unwind and pull yourself down. And I'm not talking hide who I am, lie about who I am. I'm talking like sometimes I have to remember not to laugh too loud. Sometimes I have to remember to, tone it down when I'm excited, or when I'm just like trying to let loose, or when I'm passionate about something. I'm a very passionate person.
Hmm.
So I do feel like the way my brain works, sometimes when I do have to pull that back, I can feel kind of like unauthentic, even though I am being like true to myself in other ways. So it's kind of like, yeah, it gives you that stuck feeling, because you know
Hmm.
that you can't actually be your true self.
So think about it. So you're in a job, or you're in a relationship, or you're in a household where you cannot be authentic. You're gonna feel stuck. Because in that space, I go to work and I can't be authentic at work. I feel like I'm trapped. So stuck means, if you replace the word stuck, make it the word trap. You go to work, you're a person that at your core you gotta be authentic. That's something that really drives you, give you energy. You go to work and you at work, and at work you can't be authentic. You gotta be a fraud to that value. You're gonna feel trapped. And feeling trapped doesn't feel like your life is moving anywhere. Your legs are moving, everything is moving. You go to work back and forth, but nothing about your values is moving. So, in a relationship, you're in a relationship with somebody and you can't be authentic. You gotta keep your mouth shut, you gotta be quiet. You're trapped again. So when we talk about stuff, we talk about the value that you value the most, the thing that you value the most is not having the four wheels on that thing is not moving, it's not rolling, it's four flat tires you have. So therefore you're trapped. So oftentimes it's your values that trap. But when people recognize their values, I won't take this job because I go to the job, it's gonna cause me to feel less authentic. I'm not going to take that job, right? Same thing when I first joined the military. I give an example. When I first joined the military got his own value system, their own culture, their own principle, their own all those stuff, right? They have a different system. When you think about system itself, system comes back to rules, principles, and values, right? Those are what build systems. If you want to destroy a system, destroy those things. You want to create a system, create values, principles, and rules. So when I joined the military, at first it took me a long time to embody those values, to embody those principles and those rules. So I feel like I was stuck, trapped, but I had to work my way into it. I had to go, actually, you got to take off. You got to change identity, You got to be a different guy. You got to go in and take on these things. So after a while, I conditioned myself into it. They conditioned me into it. They indoctrinated me into it. So now I lived there for 22 years. Now I got to get out of that system, back to civilian life. Now I feel trapped again because I got to change color. I got to change identity. It's not easy, right? So now I got to figure out what's my new values now. What's my new principles? Are my new rules that I'm going to govern my life? I got to create a new system for myself. So now I gotta figure out something for me to free myself now. So all the same thing, same process. So people they pass two things because we are a living system. System oppresses and system builds up. But you gotta create one for yourself. So think about that.
That makes sense. And honestly, what I'm really taking away from that the most
Mm-hmm.
is that, really trying to figure out what your values are, where you stand with your values, and how to kind of, start one step at a time, getting yourself realigned with those. Like you said, you kind of had to pause and kind of reinvent and figure out where you were and who you were again. And I guess that's the reminder that like we're constantly evolving, we're constantly changing. So we're
Mm-hmm.
also allowed to recreate who we are and like what our values are along the way. So again, it comes back to that, looking at what you value the most right now and how to connect with that the most in order to show up for yourself and show up for basically the world.
Mm. And to tie back to where we started at, we talk about procrastination, hesitation, and the principle of hesitation itself. And in the space of hesitation and procrastination, there is wisdom. I mean, procrastination is wisdom, my friend, if you think about it deeply. It's your entire body system saying that before you take the next step, you're missing information, you need to figure out what it is. So sometimes when you beat up on yourself
Yeah.
about, oh, I'm procrastinated, actually your system is giving you some information like, hey, Before you take this next step, you're missing information. Think about what information you're missing before you take the next step.
I gotta weigh in on that real quick because
Mm-hmm.
I think that that is actually, yeah, okay. So here's the thing that I just really want, like the reason why I just got a little shooken up with that is
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you just made me realize that procrastination is way more of an intuitive thing than we realize. So
Mm-hmm.
if we can pause and realize that it's our body and our mind and it's like it's a piece of us speaking to us instead of panicking
Mm.
and guilting ourselves and shaming ourselves for that, and just remember to listen, take a pause and listen to that, then I'm sure we can get ourselves right out of that stuck feeling, that trapped feeling, that procrastination, hesitation. Like,
Mm.
honestly, probably, I can't even, my mind is like going
Well,
crazy. Like, I'm just like,
you know what's obvious, Amanda? You're already pausing because you're stuck.
yeah,
So it's just recognize that I'm paused right now. Why am I paused? I need to think deeper. What is this thing telling me? You just got it. You just got it just now. You just need to sit back. You're paused already because if you can't move anywhere, you're stuck, right? I mean, the universe
true.
automatically trap you and stuck you. Like, hey, think. Like, start thinking now. Like, I would say, think. Like the guy says, think for yourself before thinking become illegal, right? Start thinking. Like, why am I stuck?
Yeah,
And
that
then recognize the wisdom in that, my friend. And then you make a next step.
that just gave me the chills because honestly, like I said, it comes back to it's
Mm,
not easy, but it is simple. So if
mm,
you can, remember to pause and look at the simplicity of it and really allow yourself to just remember, you know, take yourself out of those moments of panic, of stress, of shame, of guilt, and whatever it is that may be making you want to just stop. Instead, you don't need to stop. Just pause. Just pause. Pause, think, connect with yourself. And wow, you got me feeling some type of way with this
mm.
conversation. That's for sure. I'm really glad that we did this, honestly. It feels
Yeah,
really
you're
good to be
welcome.
getting back into the swing of this. And honestly, from the beginning, I've always been very clear about the fact that the main reason I do this is because, you know, we're all on different journeys and we're all going through things. And if what I'm going through can help you in any type of way, whether it's like a little bit, like take what resonates, leave what doesn't, then that is one of the things that brings me joy, being able to have someone look at me and say like, thank you, that made me be able to do this, that made me be able to do that. And I have had people say that to me when listening to episodes of my podcast or like something I've put on YouTube. I've had people come back and say I've really thought about that, and I've realized that's something that means a lot to me. But I also need to be clear and I need to be authentic and let people know that the main reason I'm doing this is because I'm on a healing journey and I need to hear a lot of this and I need to remind myself. And the best way that my brain works is by sharing what works for me with others so that we can all kind of thrive off it together. And so it means a lot to me to be back here for season 2 of Mindfully Chaotic. I
Mhm.
appreciate that you were my very first guest for this new season, and I'm really excited to see where it goes from here. So I feel like before we wrap this up, I do want to give you a chance to you know, shameless plug here. I know we get a couple of your books posted behind us. So I want you to tell me a little bit about that. Tell us how we can follow along and support you in your journey. And yeah, let's
Mm.
learn a little bit here about Asher Wright.
Well, I wouldn't drop no plugs. I would let the folks just go look for stuff on their own, right? But here's what I would say. I would close with this. But thank you for the opportunity to really share this because it's very important for a lot of people. And I'm gonna share it because this is what I'm working on. I have this project I'm working on, a long-term project. And it's around other people sharing their story, which we all are doing some in some capacities. But for your audience that are listening, because I just want to help people really look at their life differently, because your story matters, and something that you got to think about that we are the story that make us up. Just think about it. We are the story that make us up, and your story matters. So when I think about other people's story, sharing the experience, anybody that want to share their story, recognize these 5 containers because what I really built my stuff around. Is your first time experiences that you have. Think about those. You need to start writing them down today. Starting today, start writing down your first time experiences, all of them, because that's where your story is trapped in. Second thing, you gotta write down your failures. The thing that you fail at in your life, you could have failed at and overcome it before, or no, you're still failing at it. You write down your failures. You write down your fears. The things that you fear now or used to fear, write those down. Start making a list of those things and create a story. The things that you need to think, do, or feel that you're not that's not happening for you. Write those down. And last thing, your victories. Your victories, right? Your victories on things you've achieved, accomplished, people have recognized you for. You get to reinforce those. So I kind of focus on those because within those five themes, those five elements, is your story. You have a conversation on those every day. But when you start organizing them, take them outside your head, put them on paper, like, okay, these are my stories, my first time experience. What are they? They could be positive or negative. Start writing them down because when you start having a conversation, people, you can like, oh, remember when I did this thing for the first time, when I had my first child, right? What was the experience like? You start sharing that, people are like, oh my God, I can relate to you because relationship happens around those five elements, most of those. People talk about their fears, they talk about their needs, the thing they need to do that they're not doing right now in their life, or think that they're not thinking or feeling that they're not feeling. People talk about those things. Victories, you celebrating stuff, people want to celebrate with you. But you start organizing those things, your story starting to matter now. Because in those five themes, those five elements are the connection point to the people that you can relate to every day. When you start sharing those things, automatically your story start increase the value, your past value start to increase. It's no longer a depreciation thing. It's an appreciation thing, right? It start to increase. The value start to go up, and after that, you become valuable to other people. And that's the journey I'm on right now for my immigrants and my veterans to help them really increase the value of their past, their story, and empower other people to do the same. Because all we're doing is what collecting stories, right, and sharing them. So that's what I will close with. And you can reach me on Instagram. I'm building my Instagram account. It's Asher, ASHER.RA.STA. That's Asher. And my website is www.lifechangingwisdom.com. And that's the thing I'm working on right now. So I'll leave it with that.
I love that. I thank you for sharing that. I really do think, like you said, it's important to kind of figure out like all of the different pieces
Mm-hmm.
of us and how they work together. And I do think that that's a big piece of the whole: feeling stuck, feeling trapped, feeling lost, feeling, hesitating, procrastinating. All of the things that brought us to have this conversation today all stem from needing to identify the pieces of us, identifying what we value the most, how to make all of these things work together for us and for those around us is what it really comes down to. So I really appreciate you having you well I really appreciate you joining me here today. I think I said having me here because
Hmm.
you're the one recording us. Because
No,
I
we gotta
appreciate
support
you.
each other, right? That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You helped, you really helped me work through the technical confusion. You just
Hmm.
helped me get over a little bit of a hump of really procrastinating and delaying. Like once I have this video, I'm putting it right up. I don't That's one thing about this show is I don't really go in and
You don't
edit
need to
anything
edit.
out. Yeah, we just go with the flow. I mean, I mentioned it. We're about authenticity here. So we're
Hmm.
just going to put it all out there, and I'm really excited to get the ball rolling again. It's been really great having you here. So once again, it was great honor. It was great pleasure to have Asher Wright as our first guest for season 2 of Mindfully Chaotic. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in, listening. Those of you who stuck around from season 1 and waited all this time for us to come back, and those of you who are just hopping on now, I appreciate all of the love and support. And I'm just really grateful. I'm really grateful to be back, everybody. So I'm Amanda Marie, and thank you so much for listening to Mindfully Chaotic. I'm so happy. Thank you, Asher.